What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. Today I think it's going to be pretty good other than the weather. It's supposed to be like 95, heat index of like 106. So I'm trying to get an early start. It's the morning, but today we are going to be working on the Camaro. Now in the last video, obviously you guys saw me put these awesome wheels on, and I do think they look a lot better. The downside to these wheels are they are a lot wider. So 9.5s in the front, 11s in the back. When you put an 11-inch wheel in the back, a lot of times you have some rubbing. Now I've taken this thing down the road. It is not super low, but it's going to rub when you go into a driveway and that rear end wants to move. So what we're going to do today is we're going to roll the fenders, and we might do some clearancing on the front side, and I'll kind of show you that once we get the wheels off. But yeah, we need to roll the fenders, and that's what we're going to show you how to do today. Now, there's several different options, guys. I have an Eastwood fender roller, which I bought for my Trans Am. Now, I haven't done the Trans Am yet, but I bought this because I've done a couple different methods. Like I said, there's several ways to roll fenders. You can just use a hammer and a dolly and just roll the fenders. Obviously, that's going to screw up the paint. I've used a wooden bat, which is not really precise, and you need two people because one person really needs to drive the car while you wedge the bat in there. And not the methods that I like to use, but I have done those in the past. So for this, I kind of splurged and bought the Eastwood fender roller. Now there are several different options for fender rollers. You can get some cheapies on eBay, and they just had a ton of bad reviews. A couple people saying they stripped out, didn't work. So I wanted to go with a name brand good product that I could use for years to come. So I bought an Eastwood, and of course I will list this stuff in the description below like always, guys, but that is what we're going to be using. I also have a heat gun because when you start to bend the paint, you need to get it a little warm so you don't crack it. So that is the reason we have the heat gun. A lot of times they sell these packages with both of those, but I already had a heat gun, so all I needed was obviously the fender roller. But the very first thing we need to do is we've got the front wheels chalked up. We need to get this thing off the ground, get the back wheels off, and I'll kind of show you how this sets up into place. Now it is off the ground. I still have the jack back there, but I also have some jack stands on the rear end itself. So don't have to have it very far off the ground. We just need enough room to get the tire out of the way. So that's what we're going to do. Go ahead and take both the tires off in the rear, and then we'll hook this attachment up, kind of show you the process. Now once you get the wheel off, you're going to have to make some adjustments on this. I've noticed I put it up in here a couple times. I'm trying to save some time so you guys don't have to fiddle around with it, but it does need to be in the back spot. The wheel needs to be all the way down. So this adjusts the wheel if you're working on a car that wasn't lowered, and to be honest with you, this is really close for a lowered vehicle. You may have to, if your car's too low, you may have to actually lift the suspension, let the suspension hang down a little bit, otherwise it's not going to want to fit in there. But anyway, so we make those adjustments. This is your wheel adjustment, so it moves the wheel back and forth. When you get it into place, you can tighten it up. And then this, like I said, is the arm, and then it is in the back position. Now once we get that where we need it, go ahead and put it up on the actual axle or hub itself, and it comes with these little rings so you get a nice even holding spot. And it does come with 5 of them, and I'm going to use all 5. The bottom one is kind of a little bit of a bear to get to because of where it's at. But go ahead and cinch this down, and it doesn't have to be perfectly centered. The more centered the better, but the most important thing is that you get it tightened down. Now you don't have to torque these or anything. I'm just going to hand tighten them down, and then once we get that done, we're going to swing the wheel into place. That's where we want it, right up against that fender, and we're going to tighten it down. Once we get it there, you can see this is kind of the process. We're going to be going back and forth, and I don't have these tightened up yet, but you're going to run this down And you may have to keep adjusting this because you want it kind of at an angle until it gets a little snug. Then we're going to tighten the wheel up. And so that is our process. We're going to go back and forth. I'm going to go grab, I'm going to put this other bolt in, and then I'm going to go grab my heat gun, or grab my heat gun here beside me, and we'll start to warm this paint up a little bit. So like I said, we're not cracking it. On this car, like I said, the paint's not super great. So it's, you know, if your paint's not great, roll the fenders before you have it painted. That would be my suggestion. I can't even say this. Suggestion to you guys. But I'm gonna grab the heat gun and we'll get started. We're ready to get started. I'm going to start by heating up, just gradually heating this up, and I'm gonna be using the wheel at the same time. So I'll try to time lapse it so you guys can see what's going on, but ultimately you're wanting to heat just this area here. Obviously we're not gonna roll plastic, and you don't need to roll basically past the body line. So all we're gonna concern ourselves with is from the body line to the body line back here. That's the area that we're gonna be working on. So let's get it heated up, start moving this back and forth, and as you move it, you're gonna just tighten this up a little bit at a time, and you're gonna keep going back and forth. Obviously you need the wheel off of the ground on the other side because that wheel needs to turn if you didn't take both wheels off. Now I will tell you guys, this is not a quick process. You're gonna have to basically keep moving this around, tightening it up, moving it around, tightening it up, and from the looks of things, it looks like it's starting to roll it over, but not so much that you guys can probably see it on camera. So we're gonna keep going. I'm kind of starting back in the middle. It just seems to me like it does a little better job when I'm in the middle. So, and you want to make sure, see the angle of that wheel? We're wanting to make sure we're not pushing the fender out, we're trying to push it up the lip. So, you're just going to keep going back and forth until it gets loose. Once it gets loose, then you tighten it up and keep going. And I'm trying to find a spot where I can mount the camera, guys, where you guys can see exactly what's going on. Hopefully I don't knock it over on you. At this point, I knocked the camera over, and well, I'm gonna have to do a voiceover on this part. So basically what happened is I noticed that it wasn't rolling it quite at the angle that I wanted it to. So it was more of a 90-degree angle, or closer to 90 degree, and it just wasn't moving it the way it should have. So that arm was just a little too long, even all the way down. So what I had to do was I'm gonna have to adjust the arm out. So I decided to lift the car up. So right in front of the lower control arm, I lifted the car up so the suspension would relax, and then I could adjust that arm out to where I was getting closer to a 45-degree angle to push on it. Once I did that, it seemed to work a lot better, so we started rolling once again. See here, it's starting to roll it a lot better, and I really think that adjusting that out allowed it to get the proper angle and the wheel was just in a better position. So it's kind of one of those things you just go back and forth, and you adjust it a little bit each time. So as the fender rolls, obviously you have to move the red wheel, and I was really more focused on directly above the wheel, but I tried to go body line to body line. Well, unfortunately, guys, I still have not noticed that my mic is not picking up, so I'm still doing voiceover here. But as you can see, I did bust through the paint in that section. So sometimes there's a couple things that would cause this. Obviously, if you don't get the paint warm enough, that's one way that obviously you could bust through the paint. If you try to go too quick, that will also cause issues. And then the fact that this car has had a respray with some pretty terrible paint could be part of the problem too. So there's a lot of factors that could cause this. Now, I wasn't concerning myself too much with this because I'm just going to touch this up with some touch-up paint. Not a huge deal, really. And I was really more concerned with the area kind of right above the wheel. So as you can see, I'm pointing out from basically the 10 o'clock position to the 2 o'clock position is more what I was worried about. It's kind of reinforced in those areas, so it's kind of hard to roll it all the way to the body lines. But we're moving on to the area right in front of the tire. So a lot of times your clearance issues, when you lower one, you put an 11-inch wide wheel on, you have some issues with it rubbing in that area that I'm pointing at here. So what we do is we're going to take a mallet and kind of hammer that in, and that'll give us some extra clearance. Now, I wasn't rubbing there, so it wasn't a problem right now, but sometimes as the suspension flexes or you hit a bump, the wheel comes down or it comes up into that section and will rub. So wanted to take care of that. The other places a lot of people have trouble is with the bump stop. So that area, my bump stop's completely rotted out. As you can see, there's not one there, but sometimes people cut that because when you lift the suspension or when the suspension falls, when you're lifting on other spot besides the rear end, the tire will actually catch it. Now, generally when I lift this car, I lift from the rear end, so that's not a huge deal, but basically I wanted to show you guys all the clearance areas that you might have to worry about. So let's go ahead and get the piece off the hub, and then we'll go ahead and start to clearance that section. So I'm sorry, I was kind of the angle of which I was showing you guys was not real great. So on the other side, I'm just going to give you a time lapse and show you kind of how the fender rolls. I've got a clamp. I'm going to clamp my camera where you guys can see it a little better. But for now, we're going to go ahead and use a 4-pound kind of sledgehammer type hammer to hammer this area right here. And most likely it's going to break off some of that undercoating, so we're going to recoat it after we're all finished. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and hammer this down. I couldn't find my hammer, so I just went out and got a 4-pound sledge, and I'll list that in the description down below. But let's hammer this area in and see if we can maybe make some more clearance. I'm gonna lie, I'm out of breath after doing that, but I'm just gonna take a scraper and knock some of this excess loose. You can see that I knocked quite a bit off this undercoating while you're doing it. So I'm going to, like I said, just kind of clean this up. Now I did just go around the ledge here. This generally doesn't hit, but while I'm out down here with the hammer, I might as well do it. So once we get this all scraped off, which I'm going to do real quick, I'm just going to put some Rust-Oleum undercoating on, which I'll also list in the description. But I'm going to coat this area, obviously, that I beat up with the hammer, and then we'll spray paint the whole inside of this fender once we once that undercoating dries. So I want to get a nice uniform coat around everything. Probably take a piece of cardboard and block this off so I don't get spray paint on the coils and anywhere I don't want it. But you'll see that here in just a second. So like I said, let's go ahead, scrape this off, and then get this undercoated. Once I've got that undercoated, we're going to go on to the other side. And like I said, I'm going to try to set my camera. I'm going to clamp my camera to either the brake or somewhere where you can actually see in a time lapse the fender actually rolling. So now that you know how to adjust it and kind of where it needs to set, let's go ahead and go to the other side and start that process. Well guys, this side did a lot better. And when I say a lot better, I didn't crack the paint on this side, which is really, really exciting. So on that other side, I did go ahead and just touch that up with some black paint. And like I said, the best time to do this is before a car was painted, but no cracks. Well, there's a little bit of a crack right here, but that's not bad. Not bad at all. And it looks a lot better. We're gonna keep that out of the wheel now. It's folded up nicely. Now, I don't fold it completely flat up against the car. That is something that if you wanted to do, you could do that. I mean, this is more than capable of doing that. But let's get this thing off, out of the way, and let's go ahead and clearance this area right here, just like we did on the other side, so we can get it undercoated. Then we can get everything sprayed and weld the tires and wheels back on and set down. Now once that has dried, I'm back to the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot the entire inside of this with some just like semi-gloss or flat black paint. Now this is just some stuff that I had bottled back a long time ago. It's just some, it's actually tractor paint for like frames on tractors and whatnot that are gonna be outside in the elements. So I'm gonna go over this with a quick coat of that. Might go over it a couple times just to make sure that we get it nice and covered, and then we'll go to the other side and we'll take a look at it all finished up. Well, I wanted to show you guys a look at it all finished up. So there it is with the I just did the coating or the rubberized undercoating in that section where I knocked all that paint off, but I did go ahead and spray this entire thing with some flat or semi-gloss, I guess it is, black paint. So it is looking a lot better, guys. I'll show you the other side too. Looking about the same, but so as I said, on this side I did break the paint. I did touch that up with just some black paint that I had for this car, and it's just regular black paint. Now obviously if you're working on your car, you want to get some paint that matches, but on black and crappy paint doesn't really matter. I just didn't want it to rust. So on the other side, it didn't crack the paint. So what I did was I did it a little bit different than I did on this side, in the fact that I was more at an angle when I was knocking this down, or on the other side anyway. And I think that was a majority of my problem. I think I started, the angle wasn't right, and that's, as you guys saw, I had to adjust the suspension down in order to get the right room. So I think that's why that other side went a little better. And ultimately I did heat it up, and the sun has been out for quite a bit longer, so that probably helped as well. Anytime you're bending paint, it's gonna have to be a little bit warm to not crack it. Now you're not guaranteed not to crack it, but I think it's looking a lot better, and we got accomplished what we wanted. We got that clearance right here, looks a lot better, and we're gonna have a lot more room. Like I said, it wasn't rubbing, as you could tell, but now you're gonna be able to tell if you have to go back in there and massage any more points. Your tire will obviously rub that off. And well, I don't have an adjustable panhard rod on this either, but it seems to be setting pretty good. So in the future I might get a panhard rod. That way I can really center that rear end where it needs to be if it's one closer to one side than the other. But let's go ahead and get the wheels back on and get it set back down on the ground. Now the last thing we need to do is obviously we need to torque the wheels down to 100 foot-pounds. And as you guys saw in the last video, I like to go around them twice, just in case one pulls close. That is it. We are all finished up, guys, and I think that this, like I said, it wasn't rubbing, but I think it was going to, and this took care of that before I had an issue. Because a lot of times if it gets up into the fender, because it's flat, it will actually pull it down and then cause you more problems. So like I said, take your time. I think if I'd have taken more time on the other side, I wouldn't have broken the paint, but that's part of the learning process. And honestly, I'm glad that I did it on this car where the paint's not great, because when I go to do it on my Trans Am, that's gonna make things a lot easier for me. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I did find a spare key, like a Haida key. I don't know what's in it. There may not be a key in it. Who knows? There may be gold coins in it. But these are all the things that I use, guys, and I will list them down in the description. From the jack, you really only need one, because once you get it on jack stands, you can use that jack to bring the suspension up. Now this is if yours is lowered. If it wasn't lowered, I think that would have fit, but because it's lowered, we had to lift the suspension up. But the Eastwood fender roller, the heat gun, you know, I always use an impact and a torque wrench, some touch-up paint if you do crack the paint, and then of course a big frickin' hammer. I used a 4-pound sledge. I think a 3-pound would work. It's gonna need to be 3-pound or bigger, and I wanted something kind of small that was easy to swing in that area. You know, if I do have a sledgehammer, the 10-pound sledge, but it just wouldn't have been able to get in that area very good. I couldn't have got any good swings on it. And then a scraper to get the old undercoating off, of course the new undercoating, some flat black paint. But guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. It's ridiculous how hot it is in the heat index. Like I said when I started this video, 106 heat index a day. Now it is 12 o'clock, so I did kind of beat a majority of the heat, but I'm still drenched in sweat. And the wind is blowing out here, but it's just not enough to keep you cool, you know, when you're working outside how it is. And if it were in the garage, it'd be even worse. And I don't have a ton of room in here, to be honest with you. But guys, if you do like this video, please smash that thumbs up button. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully it is helpful when you go to do this. Like I said, don't cheap out on a fender roller. If you have a buddy, borrow it from him, or go in together and buy one. It makes things a lot easier. Just don't buy the cheapie because the cheapie will break, at least from the reviews that I'm reading. But guys, we have a ton more planned on this car. I think, you know, I haven't actually driven this car more than the day that I bought it because of the steering issues, the leak in the power steering. But now that we've got all the power steering addressed, we need to get to that steering column because that is the last thing that's keeping me from daily driving this. And that is what I'm wanting to be doing because everything runs great. Air conditioner works great. So stay tuned because in the next video on this car, guys, I am going to be tackling that steering column. And like I said before, I did find another column, but we'll go over that all in the next video. Other than that, guys, if you're not subscribed, please go down there, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell icon. That way you're notified every time we drop a new video. And well, stay tuned. See what we do next. Let's see if there's gold coins in here. My guess is it's probably gold coins. Or maybe I can't even get it open. Oh, it's a key. Crap.